Welcome to Depression Proof Your Life Live, a space for honest conversations about mental health, mental wellness, recovery, and resilience. Here, we explore how communication, environment, and mindset work together to move us from silence to strength. I'm Marion Mills, and I created DPYL out of my own journey through mental illness, addiction, and recovery. These conversations are about breaking stigma, finding support, and reminding you that you are not alone. If tonight's conversation brings up heavy emotions for you, please step away and reach out for support. Call or text 988 or call 911. Let's begin. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Good evening and welcome to Depression Proof Your Life Live. Hi. Sorry, I forgot to switch over, but thank you so much. Good evening, and thank you for joining me on Depression Proof Your Life Live. Please help me welcome tonight's guest, Barri Tsavaris. Did I say that correctly?
Yep, Tsavaris.
Tsavaris, thank you so much. I apologize. But yeah, so I'm so excited to have her on the show. Just a little bit about her. She is a world-traveled voice actor from New York City who established herself as a top voice talent while living in Seoul, South Korea for 14 years. She's worked, here's the list now. She has worked with the LA Chargers, Microsoft, Bose, Toyota, Lego, Baby Shark, amongst a lot of other clients. She was also the voice of the 2018 Winter Olympics. I got to hear about that. Can't wait to hear about that. She has dubbed countless animations and video games and appeared in various Korean films, TV shows, and commercials. Barri sits on the board of World Voice Organization, also short known as WoVO. And she is an ambassador for the Building Doors voiceover campaign. She now splits her time between Las Vegas, Toronto, and Las Vegas, along with her precious Persian cat, Mila. Although I was excited, I think cats are beautiful, although I'm allergic to them. I think they're absolutely beautiful. But please help me welcome Barri. Thank you so much for being on the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really excited to be here, and thank you so much for having me. And before we get into all of it, I want to thank you for creating this program and for creating a welcoming and safe space for us to talk about some difficult things. I appreciate it so much.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it. I really do. As I've told so many, so many people just in talking about Depression Proof Your Life, the name and how I came about, and any guest I share. This platform was birthed out of my own struggles, but this is a platform for you. For anyone that appears on the show, it's a platform for you to get out what you want to get out, tell your story. And of course, as we talked, when we talked about what you may share, it's not about the just talking about the, woe is me type of thing. It's, I've been through this, but look where I am now, That is why, of course, just resilience is a resounding type of message, throughout, different guests that I've had. But that's what it is to live. Like resiliency is just a part of life. So I always like to start out by telling the audience how we actually first met. And of course, we actually met through Building Doors. We're both ambassadors for the Building Doors campaign. So like I said, your story is honestly, it reminded me of I love Dateline in 2020 and all those different but it's just, but it's one of those stories, or even a Lifetime movie where you hear a story and you lean in and it's like, how did they make it out? How did they,
Yeah, I was telling someone about it yesterday, who didn't know everything, and I only got 1/3 of the way through, and they were like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry about that all of that happened." And I was like, "Oh wait, there's more." and I told them, and I do maintain a level of humor about it because I have to.
You have to.
I just have to, and it's also in my.
I told them, and
But I told them it's sort of like, I feel like I've been living like a blooming onion of trauma. Like
Yeah.
we're just peeling off the layers.
You know what? I love that. I love that because I believe that ultimately that's what life is. It is layers. And sometimes we see things in ourselves before other people see them. And then sometimes people see things in ourselves. And then that's when those layers start to like, wait a minute. And some of them come with age, you know. So yeah, I appreciate that self-awareness of, you know, yeah, it is that I think that's a great analogy. So let's get into it. So it's really exciting. As of course, I was just trying to learn more about you and your story. Your story that you're going to share.
Mm.
As I said, you know, in posting it, it's the first time that you've really shared it publicly.
Yeah.
And in talking to you, this is pretty recent because you've only been back in the States since last January, correct?
Yeah. And in certain ways, I'm still in the story. It's not over yet.
Mm, wow.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and give us the backstory on how you ended up in Korea, in South Korea.
Okay.
Sounds exciting and exotic. So yeah.
Okay, so I spent all of my 20s in New York City. I was an actor doing mostly improv and sketch comedy, but I always had a day job. So I was in corporate America in New York, and in 2008, the housing crisis happened,
Yes.
and after the holiday vacation, I was working for a high-end jewelry company at the time called John Hardy. And
Mhm.
January 4th, we all came back to the office. You know, and we were all so excited that we made it through, you know, we made it to 2009. We made it through Christmas and New
Right.
Year's. And, you know, we came back to the office and they laid off half of us. Um,
Wow.
and so I spent 2009 unemployed in New York City, which I don't
Mhm.
recommend.
Right.
And also I should say that in 2007 I went through my first divorce. So my
Wow.
world was already sort of reeling. Um, so you know, I lost my marriage, lost my apartment, now I lost my job. And I An amazing thing that happened in 2009 was that because I suddenly had this free time, I wrote and produced a play in the New York Fringe Festival.
Good for
Um,
you.
yeah, I tend to do that when I'm in crisis.
Mhm.
I
Funny how it happens,
I'm
right?
a storyteller, yeah, and
Mhm.
then I
Yeah.
had this story to tell. So, but then, you know, my play opened and closed, and it was awesome. But then I it was the fall of 2009, and I was like, well, what next? I still don't have a job. Like, what do I do? And I just started. I was like, you know what? I I'd always wanted to live abroad. I never thought that I would because I found myself, you know, married to someone that didn't want to.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That we're not married anymore.
A better time,
Um,
right?
I've been applying for so many jobs in New York. I'm not getting anything. I was kind of terrified to leave New York City because it's like, you know, you feel like they're all gonna forget about me, you know.
Yeah.
And But I was like, I think maybe now's the time. And I looked at it at the time like New York is kicking me out.
Mhm.
But now
Okay. That
in
makes
hindsight,
sense.
I've switched my perspective on that. I'm like,
Mhm.
no, you know, my life and circumstances in New York were giving me space to go
Mhm.
and find my destiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I know I want to go abroad. But how do I do that? I have like a film degree with a minor in acting. Like what can I do? Who will pay me? So I realized quickly that teaching English as a second language, going into ESL was the way to go.
Okay.
I had, you know, I had debt at the time, which,
Yeah.
you know, ooh, man, that word well, I'm
Mm.
sure we're gonna get into this, but like, you know, there's a lot of shame that surrounds depression.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was and now I will say it because, you know, it's so normal to be in debt. But yeah, so I had a lot of debt, and so I was looking for um, a country with where I could make a lot of money as an English
Mhm.
teacher, where there'd be good benefits, like, you know, pay for my flights, pay for my housing, that sort of thing.
Wow.
So it came
Smart.
down, yeah, it was time for me you know, reclaim my life and take care of myself like a big
Mhm.
girl. So I pretty much came down to the highest salaries for this as a first-time teacher were Korea and Japan. And I looked at the cost of living in both countries, and I saw that Japan was an insane cost of living. I basically wouldn't be able to save any money, and it would be hard for me to get out of debt. So Korea was just a better financial option. I didn't know anything about Korea. I didn't know anybody there, but I was
That
like,
is, that is so bold but exciting. Like, I love that. Wow.
So I applied for basically a program where you do like a 2-month TESOL course on site, and then they would place you in a job. They worked with Korea and Chinese like public schools.
Wow.
So I flew, it was January 2010. I flew to Thailand, and I took my TESOL course in Chiang Mai, Thailand, in the north of Thailand, and took my course and then just waited for a placement. By March, I had a public school in Korea making me an offer, and I flew to Korea with 2 suitcases and a carry-on. That's it. And it was my school provided me with an apartment, and I was living out 45 minutes south of Seoul, 45 minutes south of Gangnam. Everyone knows Oppa Gangnam Style. And yeah, it was surreal. They sent a van to pick me up and at the airport and, drive me to this little town outside of the city. And my contact at the school, she spoke English, but nobody else spoke any English. And yeah, I was just thrown into this world. So that's how I got there.
Wow.
Yeah. And at the end of my, just a little bit more of the story, it's because it's important. So at the end of my first year, and I plan to just go for 1 year and go right back to New York, because I can't let them forget about me in New York. And at the end of my first year, I started getting involved with, there was a thriving expat arts community in Seoul. There were, and not just Americans, but Canadians, Brits, Europeans from all over, South African, Australian, New Zealand, all English language speakers who were in bands, performing live music, making music, doing theater, productions. I had friends that had an art gallery. And I got in with this community of creatives and artists, and
I found my people, right?
Right. Right. And of all things, I got cast in a bilingual production of the Vagina Monologues, Korean and English.
Wow.
And I met a woman who was an American. She was in the cast, and I'm actually house sitting for her in Burbank right now. It's what we're like 16 years later, and so this is proof of the connections and friendships that I made there and that I've held on to. I'm in her studio right now in Burbank. But yeah, so I met her, and she was already a voice actor in Korea, and I was like, "What? How do you, in English? You're voice acting?" And long story short, she introduced me to her agent. I went in, I cut a demo. I started doing voiceover jobs part-time in Seoul. This is before smartphones. So they would just like text me an address, and I would just wander around Korea trying to find these studios.
Right. Yeah.
Like oftentimes the engineers and clients didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any Korean.
How did you? Okay, I have so many questions.
I was paid in shady envelopes of cash every month. Like it was, but I excelled. And I was doing more and more work. And after about 8 months of doing it part-time, I went to the shady Korean agent, and I said, hey, it's time now for me to either re-sign my contract with my school or, do something else. And I said, I'm worried though that there won't be enough voiceover work.
Right.
And he just said to me, quit your job, quit now. And I was like, yeah, but will you have enough for me? I don't know. And he was like, quit. So I did.
Wow. Well, it clearly wasn't a mistake, right?
Yeah, and then, so that was the beginning of 2012. I
Okay.
stopped teaching,
Wow.
and, immediately, I went into full-time voiceover and, ultimately doing on-camera as well, and, my career there just took off, and I never looked back. Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. Wow. So, of course, as I, told you, previously, share as much as you are comfortable.
Mhm.
But with such a successful start, especially, just literally taking a leap of faith, right? Of going to a country you'd never been to
Mhm.
and finding success
Yeah.
pretty quickly, I would say, right? Pretty quick with teaching, and then with learning about voiceover and excelling in that. What caused you to have to flee so abruptly? And I say flee; those are my words, not yours. But and share with us what the transition was like,
Yeah.
having
Um,
to leave that such a strong community.
well, so, yeah, I built a very full life. I wound up, I met my now ex-husband there. We were together for 13 years. I met him at the end of my first year there.
Okay.
Um, we eventually were both successful actors there. We had a beautiful apartment, 3 cats. I was the artistic director of Soul Players, so I was not only making money as in voiceover all day long, but then in evenings and weekends, I was producing theater. So
Wow.
I built such a full life there.
Wow.
Um, uh, and then the pandemic hit, and
Okay.
that changed the business a little bit. It made it made work more scarce. I won't get into those details, but
Sure.
so work started to shift, and I knew even before the pandemic that I knew it was time to go back to North America.
Okay.
Um, and, my ex was resistant. He'd been in Korea longer than me, 6 years longer than me,
Okay.
and so I think there was some fear there, and I was recently talking to a childhood friend, and, uh, trying to talk about how I tell this story. Where does this story begin?
Okay. Hmm.
And, she was like, "I think," and I said, "I think the story begins with, the divorce," and she was like, "No." She was like, "This story begins, a year before that with your mom dying."
Wow.
So right. So it's really been 3 years of blow after blow that started with 2022, January 2022. My mom died in her sleep. Um
Wow.
And, I was
Sorry
in
to hear.
Canada and she was, thank you. She was, back in the States and I wasn't there. And, yeah, so it started with that. And then as we were sort of getting out of the pandemic, my ex, made it very clear that now that the world was opening up again, he wanted to be open in other ways as well. He
Mhm.
wanted to have an open marriage, and I did not want to.
Yeah.
Um, and without getting into the nitty gritty of that, like that's eventually what made me decide that it was time to
Yeah.
walk away. It became a non-negotiable for him, and
Wow.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It was not what I signed up for.
Hmm. Good for you.
Thank you. And it's hard because now I've been it's been almost 2 years since I left, and, so I've been dating, doing that thing, and, I've had, uh, men on dates, who also are divorced saying that they had failed marriages, and I can't use that word,
Okay.
because I feel like, there can be pros and cons and good and bad, but, like, to say, because I was married previously too. I was with my first husband total 10 years, 3 years married, and I
Mhm.
can't, so I've spent so much of my life with these 2 men. I cannot look at, like, a 10-year relationship and
Right.
then a 13-year relationship and use the word failure because that is too many years of my life.
Mm.
So, I don't use that word.
Good for you. That's a good perspective to take, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how I got on that tangent, but
Well, I think that you no, but yeah, don't. I don't feel like it's a tangent. Because of course it's your story, it's your life, and there are so many connective things. And I think where you were going, what you had started with was just sharing. Your childhood friend was telling you
oh
where it started, and then after you
yeah,
shared that unfortunately your mom passing in her sleep and you not being there, and then
yeah,
so you were just kind of going down what actually started that trajectory of a lot of loss that
yeah,
ultimately brought you back to the States.
right, right. So, um, I knew I had to leave that marriage.
Yeah.
And my ex and I had our businesses were intertwined, and
Mm,
we marketed ourselves as a duo.
okay.
So it wasn't just dismantling a marriage and a life that I built that I was so proud of, but it was my business, it was my livelihood. But I was confident that I could keep a lot of my clients, leave, come back to the States.
Mhm.
I left, uh, being there for 14 years, dear friendships, like, yeah.
Yeah.
But I am very fortunate, in that I have beautiful friendships all over the world. So
Yeah.
I was
Absolutely.
leaving, but I was also returning to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I left, and 4 months later, that's all it took was for my ex was arrested. Um, and well, I probably shouldn't get into the details of what he did. But it's been he's still in jail in Korea.
Wait.
Um, Marion, welcome to my
Wow.
blooming onion of trauma.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we had an agreement that he was going to watch our 3 cats for the whole year of 2024
Mhm.
while I traveled and eventually settled by the end of the year in LA.
Okay. Mhm.
Um, and then my cat was going to be flown out. But only 4 months passed and he was arrested. And I had to um, drop everything basically to get these 3 animals out of Korea,
Okay.
um, make sure that everything in the apartment was sold, close up everything with the apartment.
Mm.
And I found out that the woman that he'd been having an affair with, who's also in our industry,
Mm.
was in the home
Oh.
when he was arrested. She was visiting him from America. So I had to
Oh.
work, and this was a woman who I've known for 15 years, who I, was a friend to, um, who was going behind my back. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so we had to coordinate for 3 weeks to
Right.
get the cats out of the country, sell everything in the apartment. It was horrible. Um, you know, uh,
And
but
and just to clarify, you had to do that because on paper you guys were still married. Is that correct?
no,
Is
we
that
were
why?
actually divorced at that
Oh,
point.
okay.
But
Mhm.
the reason why was what I had to do that. Well, I mean, gosh, I think it's common among my circle of people. I can say what it is. He was arrested for international drug trafficking, and
Oh, wow. Barry, I think you may have frozen.
oh, are we
Okay,
back?
there you are. Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Even the computer is like, I can't take this story.
Right. Like,
Girl,
what?
too much. So as part of our divorce, he was meant to change the lease of our apartment to his name, but he never
Oh,
did that. So basically he had a whole boatload of drugs mailed to him to an apartment in Korea with my name on it.
put your name on it. Yeah. Okay, I
So
see.
I became implicated in what
Okay.
he did. Um,
Mm.
so and at the time when I found out, I was in Mexico City with friends and freaking out.
Yeah. Clearly. Yeah.
And I was about to book a flight to Korea and go, but my family and we also spoke to a lawyer, and they were like, "No, no, 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 you can't go there.
Yeah.
You can't go there because you might be arrested as soon as you arrive." Um,
Oh my God. Oof.
I obviously had nothing to do with anything he was doing.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
don't think he was doing it when we were still together. But there's so much that I found out after the fact that, who knows.
Uh-huh.
So right, so I had to scramble, I had to drop everything,
Mhm.
I had to get back to America, um, and, when we did get the animals out, thank goodness, they're all in America now, we
Okay.
were able to close up the apartment, I was able to clear my name and my status with, Korean authorities,
Good.
so I'm cleared.
Right.
Thank
Good.
goodness.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and, uh, it's the next part of that is that, the woman who's in our industry that he'd been having this affair with, began to, um, harass and defame me on social media,
Mm.
um, on Facebook and Instagram and blogs, and, was naming me, was tagging my business, was listing my website, and yeah, and defaming me. Um, and it was, I think we had at the time like 500 Facebook friends in common,
Wow.
e- everybody in the industry basically, and it was horrifying to me. I'm sharing this story now, but
Mhm.
I'm and I am an actor and I do put myself out there, but I'm actually quite private.
Private. Yeah.
I'm very
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm pretty private. What I share is curated, and
Mhm.
crafted, and,
Mm.
um, I like to hold a certain amount of myself close,
Yeah.
and so this was something where I was being, stripped of my privacy
Yeah.
and, my dignity, and was being lied about,
Yeah.
and
That's what I was about to say, putting you out there in a negative light and lies that yeah.
yeah, and I had to talk to my management, my agents,
Right.
I had to get ahead of it. This
Yeah.
this woman was, threatening my career, was
Yeah.
saying things like, "I have the ability to keep you from working in America, and I will do that."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had to speak to lawyers. It was tough, and so this was summer of 2024,
Wow.
um, maybe July, and, I basically just started hiding. I Yeah,
Makes sense. I
yeah,
mean, it really does. I mean,
I just and that's so not me.
yeah.
Um, this situation turned me into, like, I was like a shell,
Mm. Yeah.
but I couldn't. It was almost like I couldn't move. I just hid. I had weeks. I would just and I was losing time. I would have just have weeks where I'd be like, "I don't even know what happened this week." Like, I
Yeah.
just, and trouble sleeping and, then trouble staying awake during the day. Like, it was, yeah, it was a bit of a zombie.
Mhm. Almost like on autopilot, like, in some ways, right?
Right. All while trying to reestablish myself in America,
Mhm.
make money.
Right.
And what we do as actors,
Mm.
how can you audition when you're, riddled with grief and anxiety? Like,
And not only that, I mean, uh, of course, now, like you said in the beginning when you first started, you weren't really, it was before cell phones and the internet, but now, it's like uh, a lot of times, I know when I first started in voiceover, a lot of casting agents said, yeah, that we look at your website, we look at your social media. So these people that are looking to possibly hire you, casting agents and their clients, and they're coming across all of this stuff. So yeah, I
yeah, and
can,
even if people didn't know what was going on or didn't believe it, people might look at it and say, "We don't know what this is,
yeah,
but we
no,
don't
want to be part of it.
but this person seems like maybe it could be problematic," you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
So, uh, so dealing with that, that was, yeah, July, and then, at the end of September, um, my my stepmother, who was 72, young for her age,
right. Yeah.
did Pilates and hiking every day and
Oh
was
wow.
so fit, and, she was hit by a car and killed. Um,
Wow.
and it's, yeah. Uh, I, so I had to get myself to Canada to be with my dad, and
Wow. I'm so
yeah,
sorry to hear that. That's again, as I told you, it's one of those things where it, when it rains, it pours. It's like, how much more? Like, did you ever ask that? Like, how
oh my
much more?
gosh.
You
Yes,
know?
I would like scream to the sky, like like
Yeah.
you have so many questions, like why, why me, and like and what next,
Yeah.
and when will this stop, and you know, uh, what am I being tested for? Like what?
Yeah. Hmm.
Can't you see I'm already resilient? And that's the thing, we've talked before, Marion, you and I, about resilience. And
Yeah.
I know I am, and I do wear it with a badge of honor. I do. I'm proud of that. But you
Hmm.
get to the point where you're like, I am sick and tired of having to be
Having to be.
resilient.
Yeah.
I have to be. Why can't I just be soft?
Mm.
Why do I have to be so hard?
How I know that this wasn't a part of my question, but I'm curious. What role, if any, did spirituality play
Mhm.
in you getting out of it, and yeah, yeah, what role, if any, did it play at all?
So I am not a very religious person. I was
Mhm.
raised in a mixed household. My dad's family is Catholic, and
Mhm.
my mom is Jewish. I'm Jewish. I was raised Jewish, but I stopped practicing many years ago. I I do believe in higher powers.
Sure.
I do believe in. I'm a little bit more. I am spiritual, but I would say it
Spirit.
now at this point in my life leans more, especially after so many years in Asia, a little more on the Buddhist side.
Mhm.
Um, so I do believe in energies and powers, and things that we do not understand are at
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, but I remember feeling wishing that I was more of a traditional believer and had a more of a traditional faith established, because I was like, wouldn't that just be so wonderful to just be able to accept these things as, um, as awful as they are, as somebody's plan for me, or, or that I'm being looked out for, so it's not, I don't believe in a traditional God, but I think the spirituality that came into play for me was, feeling like my mother was with me. Um, ooh, here are gonna be the tears, but like, the things that I was surviving,
Mhm.
I would just get little signs, whether it be like, passing a restaurant with her name, or a song on the radio that was our song, like little times where I felt like,
Yeah.
uh, I needed some sort of sign, and there were so many times where I felt like she was with me.
That's beautiful. And
So
I love that, like you said, in those moments that you needed it, like you see her name or hear a song on the radio. Like you said, it's like it was a hug or a whisper in your ear, or so
yeah,
yeah, I think that's beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, what advice would you give someone that's facing both personal loss and all these challenges, trying to rebuild just loss after loss,
Yeah,
um, and
um,
having to start over in a new country, and of course, you were coming back to New York, but again, 14 years is a long time to
yeah, and I
spend
didn't
somewhere
I
and
didn't
come
go
back.
back to New York. I was in Los Angeles and Las Vegas. So I
Oh,
wasn't even back with, like, my people, because my people were, at that point, all over the place.
okay, yeah. Mhm.
Um, my my advice, and something that was just a, lifesaver for me, is, maintain your relationships.
Mm,
I have over the years, this is what I was doing abroad. I worked very hard at maintaining my friendships. Um, you know, I know social media is sort of this double-edged sword, but I'm grateful for it. Without, you know, Facebook really, and all the technology that we have, I wouldn't have been able to stay abroad for that long and stay so
yes.
close with
And
people.
stay
So
connected. Yeah. That's
yeah,
great.
so
Yeah.
I worked hard to maintain friendships, and, in addition to acting and voiceover, so that's like the one of the communities I'm prominent in, and the other community that I'm very active in is, so I'm a huge music fan, and my favorite band is U2, and I've been a fan for, well, 30, 40 years. I follow the band around the world. Um,
Okay.
and at so many concerts that I've been to, going to for 30 years, I would meet other fans, and we stay in touch. And
Good.
every
Yeah.
3 to 5 years, we see each other again on the next tour. Um,
Wow. That's
so
huge.
because of music,
Yeah.
I have friends all over the world. So w- I tell this because when I found myself with nowhere to go, really, I had I had friends in America, I had friends all over Europe, I had friends
Yeah.
in Australia saying, "Listen, if you need it, you can come stay here." Um, and I haven't gotten, this is a whole other topic,
No,
but
that's fine. Yeah. And
I
like I
haven't
said, this is your story. So yeah.
I haven't gotten, I've been gone almost I left almost 2 years ago. I haven't gotten an apartment yet. Um, I've been I've been staying with other people for almost 2 years. Um, I'm exhausted. I'm ready. I'm ready to
Mhm.
have a home and my own bed again. So that time is coming very soon. It's exhausting. I know people think that it's like, oh, it's like so cool. Like you're like this, globe trotting. Like, yeah. And I will, yes, I'm grateful that I've gotten to,
Mm-mm. Yeah.
see so many corners of the world. Yes, but I'm tired.
That's
So,
that's real. That's
yeah,
real.
because I nurtured these friendships,
Yeah.
what it meant was that they were all, when I needed them, they were there for me. Um,
I'm so sorry. I know this is just how much of a softie I am, and I guess it's not even being a softie, but that is that is like a mic drop moment. It really is for me. When I think about so many people that are hurting or feel lost. Don't forget about the relationships that you build. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. Like that is what I hear you saying. It's and that's huge.
Thank you. And like to
Christy said,
piggyback.
Barry is
Oh,
one of the
Christy,
strongest women
thank
I know.
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And to sort of piggyback on that idea is,
yeah,
uh, to not be afraid to say, "I need help."
yeah.
I think that, like, for me, I'm an Aquarius, and I'm highly functioning, and, like, we don't ask for help.
Right.
I do everything on my own,
Right.
but,
I got it.
right, like, I don't wanna be a burden to anybody.
Yeah.
I don't wanna feel beholden to anyone, but
Hmm.
what I had to start asking for help. I hit a
Mm,
point where I had no choice,
yes.
and it was so icky to me. I need help. Oh. Oh. What I learned though is that, other people find joy and fulfillment in being of service to you
Hmm.
and being able to help you.
Hmm.
P People, obviously you don't overstay your welcome, don't, like, like, don't be a mooch, whatever. But if you're not taking too much advantage, people want to help you. So I
Yeah.
would say, like, if you are struggling, ask for help. Find your people and tell them, "I'm struggling and I need some help."
You know, when it comes to, like you say, asking for help, um, do you is that something that was what I find so interesting about, especially what you said previously, about why, and the what lesson, what am I supposed to be gaining from this, what lesson, and I of course not the only thing, but I think that that's very prevalent. Is actually these were relationships that you just naturally built. They weren't out of oh, I need something from these people. I'm going to need them, a couple of days. I'm going to need them later on. It was just natural relationships, and that is exactly why they were more than happy. And I say they, even where you are now, and
Yeah, I
and,
mean, the
it's
woman
and,
who's
and I'm sorry,
calling,
you
I'm
shared
in
with
my
me.
friend Jessica's house right now.
Hi,
We met
Jessica.
we met like
You said
16
16 years ago.
years ago in Korea. Our paths in Korea only crossed for 1 year, and she left. So for 15 years, she and I both maintained this friendship. And now
Oh, so
here I am
sweet.
in her house with her family and using her recording studio. And
Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, because you told me that you returned January 17th, 2024.
yeah.
And since then you've been in Mexico for a few months, and then as well as in Canada. So yeah, the power of relationships, that is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we have a question from Christy. Now that I've been
Yes.
back almost 2 years, what would you say to Barry about to get on that plane to come to the US?
Hmm.
Oh, what do you
What
wish
do
you
you wish you knew?
knew?
Yeah, a great question. Thank you.
Uh, okay, to return to the US. Mm,
Yeah.
oh God. This is so hard to answer because, it's this story that I'm in, it's not over yet.
Yeah.
My ex-husband is still in jail in Korea, and he's gonna get out, and that's gonna, open up it's gonna reopen things, and I still don't have a home of my own yet, and I'm still rebuilding my voiceover career and looking for other work in addition. If anyone's hiring, I do
Hello.
lots of things, so you know, the question, Christy, it's almost like you're asking like I'm in a hindsight position. Like, oh, looking back now. And I'm just like, no, I'm still in it. So but okay, so 2 years out, what would I say? I would say there's gonna be tough days, but keep keep doing what you do. Keep smiling, keep telling stories, keep talking to people, keep doing yoga, keep being of service. Um, and those things will get you through. Um, yeah.
I have a question, and if you don't feel comfortable answering it, please don't. As I said, I want you to be comfortable, and if you don't feel comfortable, please let me know. What, how did things end, or where are you in regards to the harassment
Mm.
that you were having? How is that? Is that no longer an issue? Hopefully, it's not. But can you share anything about that?
Mm.
Oh, okay,
Well, it's a little tricky. It quieted down.
okay,
Um, it quieted down, and I guess this would be another piece of advice or wisdom that I can share with people is that when you are sort of pulled into a sort of public mess like this,
okay,
I would say best to not respond rashly. Not everything that's out there, even if it is about you, not everything that's out there requires a response,
hmm,
right?
yeah,
And there's power and
and silence,
respect.
right?
There's power and
Hmm,
respect in deciding I'm not even going to engage in this.
mhm. Oh, oh, it's frozen again. It did this earlier, so hopefully it will pop back up.
I was saying,
Oh, It looks like we lost you again, but I know that it'll pop back up.
Sorry about
Um, no, that's okay.
So yeah, no, it was difficult to you want to defend yourself, you want to retaliate, you want but I realized that would probably not have the outcomes I wanted. And so it's yeah, silence is always an option, Christy. And it's at the time I felt like I was hiding.
Yeah,
Um but I realize now that actually I wasn't. It was a decision. It was a strong,
that's
powerful
right.
decision I made to not engage. So it's slowed down. I hesitate to say much more about it because I am still
Of
nervous
course,
about
of
it
course.
resuming.
Yeah,
Although,
yeah, of course.
it's been interesting because so I hid for a little while. 2024 was a lot of hiding.
Yeah.
2025, I came back out and, being involved with building doors and also
Hmm.
being very involved with World Voices.
Yeah,
And that put me kind of on a stage in our industry.
absolutely. Sure. Absolutely.
And I've slowly been sharing my story with people, either one-on-one or in very small groups.
Hmm.
And the responses I'm getting are just incredible. First of all, people are like, okay, I didn't even know.
I didn't even know. Right.
Yeah, so that's another thing that I want people to know is that, like, when you're going through something that you think is public and you think, "Oh my god,
Mm.
everyone's looking at me and judging me." Okay, here's what I will say. We are all the stars of our own stories, right?
Mm.
So, I assume everyone's looking at me because 'cause I'm a star of my own story, but really everyone else is a star of their own story. People that
Yes.
barely realize what's going on.
Yes.
So many people were like, "I didn't even know you were going through that."
Yeah.
Then the next response would be like, "You should have come to me," which is nice. And then, yeah, I mean, people just saying respect for how you handled that,
Yeah.
respect for you not making it about your business about that,
Yeah.
um, and still finding a way to put yourself out there and try to run your business. Um,
That's what I found so empowering about your story is yeah, it's easy and it's understandable that you would. I think I even described it as crawling up under a rock and just never coming out again. Like because you're not only are you dealing with this internally, but then you're having to deal with it publicly in so many different ways. And then because you are a private person, and even people that are publicly, like you said, even people that put themselves out there publicly, there's still a part of themselves that they want to hold close.
yeah,
And you didn't have that option. So it's like you're dealing with this internal pain as well as these external things that are going on, as
yeah.
well as just other thing,
And
you
what
know,
people don't another thing about divorce that people don't always think about is that, like, even if you have been wronged,
yeah,
in the relationship and you're the one that has to leave, there is still a grief, we
absolutely.
were, like, even though we were it was horrible and I had to go, we were still in love with each other. So I
Definitely.
was also and I think for a very long time, we'll still be grieving that
Grieving.
relationship and, you know, just distraught over the situation he finds himself in. So that,
Mhm,
it's hard for my friends and family to understand because they're like, "What?" Like, this,
mhm. No, I appreciate you for saying that, and I think that that's real. It's like one of those cliches where they say it's like, when you love someone, you love them fully, even though you might not agree with what they did. And but yes, and
Yeah,
that's why I appreciated what you said in the beginning of I can't look at my relation my marriages, even though they ended in divorce as failures because
no.
we were in love. It was beautiful. We were together for 10 years and then 13 years. So yeah, I respect that. And it's also just really processing because of course, and I love the way that you said literally grieving the loss because and I, because I don't have any children and I thank God. I always wanted children, but I thank God for that, because a lot of the different things that I went through mentally, I was able to take time off to process, to be in the hospital, to and a lot of times people don't do that, don't have that time. And when you talk about all the things that you went through, it's like you didn't have time to just grieve one thing before something else was happening, and then something else was happening, you know?
Yeah,
So
and
yes,
it was really just, like a full-on assault on my
yeah,
nervous system.
wow, that's a great description.
I, and, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna sit here on this, uh, podcast, show,
Platform show.
whatever, and tell people, like, you know, "Just eat healthy and do yoga, and you'll be fine." Like, you know, I fully admit I had, um, full days, full weeks
Yeah.
that I lost, like, days where I couldn't move.
Mhm.
I what I would say is, give yourself grace,
Yeah.
um, when you're in a situation like that.
Mhm.
Allow yourself to rest.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to cry.
Mhm.
It's part of the process.
Yeah.
You know, I would beat myself up, you know, so it's just a cycle of, like, you know, you're down, you're not being productive, and then you beat yourself up for not being productive, and
Right.
it's a terrible thing that we do to ourselves, especially as
Mhm.
freelancers and
Yes.
artists. The
Right.
pressure we put on ourselves to perform, to earn.
Yeah. Do you um did your resilience evolve, or had you always been resilient? Yeah, yeah. I saw you kind of smile. So,
Yeah,
or yeah, yeah. Tell us about where your resilience was and where it's evolved into.
alright. I have always been resilient,
Okay.
generally speaking. You know,
Hmm.
I when I was a teenager, you know, my mom went back to school, and I have a brother 10 years younger than me,
Hmm.
that and my parents were going through a divorce, and they neither one was really in the house very much, so I was pretty much, like, raising a
Okay.
kid as, like, a 14-year-old, like, so
Right.
I've always been resilient. How it has evolved, though, I will say.
Mhm.
So I never asked anybody for help, and I also never told anybody for so many years. I would not tell anyone anything I was going through because I was ashamed.
Okay.
Even when my parents were going through a divorce, I was ashamed to talk
Mhm.
about that. And I saw like I didn't want anyone to know that I was struggling with anything, because to me uh that was like showing weakness.
Yeah.
I think that was it. That's how my resilience has changed, that I always believe, like, no, you do not show weakness.
Yeah.
You never show weakness.
Yeah.
Um I am like independent,
Hmm.
like brassy woman from New York. Take care of
Right.
myself.
Right.
How it's evolved, I guess maybe it started about, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago. Through a very dear friend, I started to learn that there's actually power in being vulnerable
Hmm.
and in showing your vulnerability to others.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was a hard thing for me to learn. That was a hard thing to journey into. Very uncomfortable feelings for a few years of letting people see me soft or struggling. Um, but now, now I see how much power it takes to show that. That's why I'm here talking to you right now, Marion. Like, you know how hard this is for me to do today.
Uh,
Like,
Um, I know it's weird that maybe someone listening is like, why is she crying? Like, who she just said, but it's so powerful because that's why I created this platform. Because I know in my struggles with depression, I was isolating myself, and I was afraid yeah, the very thing that you're talking about. That's why I created this platform, to normalize talking about it, simply talking about it, talking about what you've gone through. And that's why, different, I think even when I spoke with you initially, you were like, well, I don't have any diagnosis. Like it's for anyone that has been through anything. Because
yeah, I remember like you asked me and I was like, I don't feel like I have any value to offer.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you shared with me, I was like, wait a minute, you have so much. So yeah, thank you so much for saying that, because that's what this show is about. It's about just like this is me. I'm not, and that's, I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not acting like life is perfect, because it's not. And I think that that's one of the biggest struggles, even as a social worker, that I saw people trying to match this image of perfection. And I don't want to. I can't show that I need help with it. That doesn't exist. Even the most successful person in the world got there with help from other people.
yeah.
Um.
And I, we talked about this before we started, but I did not share on, with my network that I was doing this, which I felt bad about. I felt like I wasn't fully supporting what you're doing. But we talked about it, and to me, it was just, it was scary enough to even be talking about it, period. And I was like, I can't let anyone know I'm doing it. But now we've been talking for almost an hour, and I will definitely share this replay.
And I told you, that it, even in the nervousness, I told you, I was like, it's going to be just a conversation. We're just chatting and talking. But yeah, this platform means a lot to me, and it's people telling their stories, because I know that, as Christy said, when people go back and watch this, they're going to learn so much from your story and Christy's story, all the different people that have been on this show, and future guests. And I believe you shared something similar. There are so many guests that have also said, like, wow, thank you. Like, that was very therapeutic for me. It's not only helping you, but it's also helping so many other people that have either gone through it or may possibly go through it in the future, and can go back on, listen to something that you said, and it's like, you know what? Like, wow.
Yeah.
I may be down for a while. And I thank you so much for also saying how important it is to cry, to take that time and rest, and not have to, be show all the time, and be on point all the time. Like, yeah, sometimes you're going to be down.
And something that I've learned, I went through this when I left New York. I went through this when I left Korea. I went through this when, past 2 years, like all, when I think about all the auditions I didn't do, or all the marketing I didn't do. Here's the thing. Yes, you need to stay productive. You need to stay in your business, whatever, but it will be there for you. And like, yeah, things will be there for you. People will be there for you. The auditions will always be there. New York City will always be there. And oftentimes, something that I have realized the past, 2 years, is that, like, because there was this long period of time, like last summer, where I just didn't post on social media. I was hiding. And, I feel like when people take a social media break, they'll then come back like 4 months later, and they'll write a post being like, hey, everyone, like, I've been gone for 3 months. Like, I had to take a break. And people like feel like they need to explain why.
Why? Yeah.
We're impressive. But usually what I think when I see other people make these posts, my first thought is usually, I didn't even
realize
you were taking a break from social media.
Right.
I guess my people is like, and
Yeah.
it's not to say you're not being thought about, or you're being forgotten.
Right.
Again, this goes back to like how we're all, the lead character in the movie of Us. And like, it's gonna be right there waiting for you.
Yeah. Just hop back in, right? Just hop back in.
hop right back in. I had to have a conversation with one of my agents, and I took maybe 2 or 3 months where I just stopped doing auditions for an agent, and we talked about it, and they were like, "No, listen, it's cool. Just communicate with us. Just let us
Yeah,
know, hey, I'm taking a little bit of a break, and here's why, but I'm coming back. Don't take me off the roster."
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, good for you. Good for you. Well, of course, I usually end the show with asking people about if they have a pet or not, and I know that Mila, right?
Melia.
Melia,
Yeah.
your Persian cat.
Yes.
How long have you had her, and how old is she?
Oh gosh. Okay. So got her in like mm, 2013, probably. So she's like 13, 14 years old. And she's with my dad in Canada right now, and we shall be reunited in 2 weeks.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Of course, I know, with the move and the time of you actually leaving Korea, and there was some time and space where she was not with you, and you had to go back
Oh
and
gosh.
make plans to get her. But how much of a role, just mentally, do you feel like she has played, even when she wasn't physically there with you?
It's gosh, I don't have children, like you, and so my pets are my babies, and
Yeah,
I had 3 cats with my ex, but with me and Melia, we had a particular bond. I almost feel like we're soulmates. So cheesy, but, it was, like, the most heartbreaking thing to leave her in that house when I left
yeah,
almost 2 years ago. Um, but being reunited with her was, yeah, it's like coming home, and knowing I'll get to see her again in 2 weeks, and that we won't be apart again after that. The plan is to then move to Los Angeles and be with each other. But first, we're gonna spend January and February in Mexico, which she's coming.
I love it. I love it. Mary, thank you so much for sharing your story and being, just so open and vulnerable, and for trusting me as well as this platform, to share your story and to really help so many other people.
You are
And
welcome, and what I would like to say is that if
yeah,
anyone, you know, uh, even if you watch and listen to the replay,
mhm,
if anyone wants to get in touch with me, if you're struggling with
yeah,
similar
I have
things, people feel free to reach out to me.
I
Um,
have your. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger on the screen. There, where you have some contact information there for Barry.
I'm very easy to find. Nobody else has my name, so
Yeah, oh my gosh. This has been so awesome. I really do appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But I'm going to let you go. DPYL community, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, bye bye.
thank you, Marion.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us on Depression Proof Your Life tonight. If this conversation stirred up heavy emotions for you, please reach out for help. Call or text 988 for 24-hour support in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., look up your local crisis helpline. Stay connected with DPYL by following us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and visit depression-prooflife.com for resources, blogs, and to share your story. Your story may be exactly what someone else needs today. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, healing is possible.